everyone. I'm so excited to start this International Women's Day conversation with Gail Warrior. We're going to give Gail the chance to introduce herself in a little bit. I'm really excited to get to talk to her. She has done a lot of incredible things in her career and pivoted in major ways in her career, which I think is going to be a really informative and useful conversation for some of our students to hear. I'm Samantha Bryant. For those of you who I haven't gotten to meet before, I am a current senior at the University of Texas, and I am the Student Advisory Board President for the KS Well Institute. So I get to work with students, and a lot of the questions that I will be asking Gail today during our conversation have come from students within the Student Advisory Board and Student Council at UT. So we're really looking forward to all the knowledge that you're going to be able to share with us today. Why don't you just start off, tell us a little bit about you, about what your background is in and what you're doing now, and what makes you excited to celebrate International Women's Day with us.
Sure, happy to, Samantha. First of all, thank you for having me today. I'm very excited to be part of all of the activities and the excitement that's going on today for International Women's Day. I am a Dallasite, born and raised in Dallas, Texas, and went to undergrad in Atlanta, but couldn't wait to get back home to Dallas. My career started early on in corporate America. I did a few years in oil and gas industry with Mobil. And then that was enough for me to know that I wanted to quickly go into the entrepreneurial route and haven't looked back. What I'm doing today is I sit as the executive chairperson of a company called CASPR, which stands for Continuous Air Surface Pathogen Reduction. So if you can probably tell from the name of the organization, considering the current environment that we're in today, we are pretty busy making sure that people feel confident and safe in going back into all of their environments, whether that's a school or a movie theater or airport, you name it. We are pretty much tackling all industries.
That's amazing. Definitely, I'm sure Casper has been busy and in high demand in the past few months. Y'all are doing a lot of great work in trying to make sure that spaces are safe for people and that people can feel comfortable acclimating to this new normal. And that's really exciting to hear. And I know a lot of our students at UT in general and other entrepreneurs who will be listening on this call are from Dallas. My mom's family is from Dallas, so I understand and wanting to stay close to home and get back to those roots. So that's amazing that you have had the chance to do that within your career. Well, I know in your back, you were talking about how you started off in oil and gas, and I know you worked in construction for a while and you pivoted away from that back in 2016 for several reasons. But tell us about that period right after you left working in construction and kind of walking through that in-betweenness time, and also just what that looked like for you.
Well, I had been in the construction field for almost 20 years, and at that time was considered one of the top African-American females in my field for permanent modular construction. But during that time, I also knew that having a forever career in construction wasn't going to be it for me, because I knew I wanted to pivot into something that was more my passion. What I am passionate about is anything around health and wellness and fitness. And while I didn't know at the time exactly what that career would look like, and the unknown oftentimes can be exciting and scary. And I think sometimes as women, we think that we shouldn't think about things that are uncomfortable. But I think it's okay to feel uncomfortable about any change or pivot that you have in your life, because that prepares you for whatever that success is going to bring down the road. So venturing into something new for me brought on a little bit of anxiety, but I embraced that anxiety. And what I did was each day focus on one thing that I was going to do towards being successful in that career of health and wellness that was going to bring me peace and joy and happiness along the way. All worked out in the end.
Incredible. That intentionality of finding one thing to focus on every day. I think that's really important, because I know in those seasons of in between and thinking about change, it can be really hard and really stressful when you're not sure what's going to happen next and you're trying to walk through that. So having one thing that you can focus on to say, even if nothing else went right today or how I expected it to go today, I had this one intention and I followed that. That's incredible.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of health and wellness, I know that holistic wellness is super important to you, and it's really important to a lot of our students. So what advice would you give to students who want to build healthier habits? And what are some ways that you focus on health in your own busy schedule?
Well, I would say start early in life, focusing on health and wellness. Honestly, I didn't start exercising or even thinking about health and wellness until after college. I didn't think I needed to exercise when I was in college. Prior to starting my construction company, very few people know that I was a certified personal trainer for a while.
That's
And
so cool.
one of the things I used to tell my clients is that being healthy every day is really about 85% what you do outside of the gym and only about 15% of what you do in the gym as far as exercise. And so for me, health and wellness is really about, mind, body, soul, as well as physical fitness. And, one of the examples I like to give is think about a luxury car. And I think our bodies are like luxury vehicles. Most luxury cars require premium unleaded gasoline for them to run efficient and long-term and run well. But if you decide that you want to put diesel, gasoline in that luxury vehicle, it may go for a while, but it's not going to go very far and it's not going to go very long. So, I think it's important to make sure that everything that we're putting into our bodies, not just about what we're eating every day, but what we're thinking about every day, what we're focusing our minds on every day, is something that is going to be beneficial and rewarding and sustaining. And I think that if you focus on and spend time taking care of your body in those ways early on in life, then when you get to be my age and older, so in your 50s, 60s, and 80s, and up to 100, then your body actually will take care of you because you've done so much in taking care of it early on. So some of the things that I do, I plan my exercise just like I plan a meeting. I exercise about 5 to 6 days a week in the morning at 7 a.m., which means most of my meetings will not start before 9 a.m. unless it's super urgent or super important, because that is my time. I think keeping variety in your workouts is important. So some of the things that I enjoy doing are rollerblading. I still love to rollerblade. I'm a weightlifter through and through, and I also love running. One of the goals that I had set for myself, so I tore my Achilles tendon actually about 5 or 6 years ago, and I set a goal to run my second marathon in Paris, France, 1 year after I tore my Achilles. And so my husband and I went to Paris. It was about 65,000 people from around the world. And we ran across the finish line hand in hand. And I ran my second and probably my last marathon, but I did it. So, I think the key is doing something every day that you find fun and something that you can de-stress and that you enjoy. Oftentimes, I think as women, we don't focus on ourselves enough and that self-care. And that's something that I think is very important. I don't compromise for.
Health is super important in my life, and thinking about, like you were saying, consuming a variety of nourishment, not only in what you're eating, but also what you're thinking about, the books that you're reading, the conversations that you're having, feeling like you're being fulfilled, mind, body, and soul. So I absolutely love that. And also for all of our students watching, you heard it here first, start early. So maybe swap out that ramen for a salad. It's never too early to get started, especially I think you brought up a great point of being able to build that habit of taking that time and showing up for yourself and having that self-care through your routine and through how you're building those healthy habits as a way of honoring yourself. That's super encouraging. Another question that I had kind of related to holistic wellness is definitely the idea of balance, because I think in this environment where everything is happening online, it can be really hard to have a work-life balance and to kind of have those boundaries for yourself when, for us as students, school is happening online, online. Meeting with our friends is also happening online. All of our interactions are happening through this 15-inch screen. So how have you managed to establish or maintain a work-life balance in the midst of the global pandemic?
Well, Samantha, I think pre-pandemic or post-pandemic, I don't think work-life balance really exists the way that, the way that we want sometimes. And primarily that's because every day is different. And, I'll tell you a couple of short stories. I remember my son, who's now almost 21, when I had my construction company, I would sometimes pick him up from school and bring him back to the office if I had a bid that had to go out that day. Then what we would do was stop at Boston Market and I'd pick up, some chicken and some sauteed vegetables. And sometimes I'd give him the mac and cheese if he really asked for it. And we would sit in the break room in our office. And so I could feel as at least we're having dinner together as a family. And I kept toys at the office so that he could sometimes, have toys to play with. And there were a few times when I worked really late and I'd have to push two chairs together and make a pallet on the bed for him so he could go to sleep while I worked until I went home. And so for me, that was balance, making sure that I was still showing up for him and still getting work done. During the current pandemic, what I realized is being mobile and being able to be successful can be done. And so this past summer, last year, I actually spent almost a month in Mexico and worked virtually in Mexico just so that I could still feel like I had a balance of a normal life of being able to work really hard. I'd get up early, I'd still do my workout, I'd have my smoothie for breakfast, I'd be online for a Zoom call first thing at 9 a.m. But then sometimes in the afternoon, I'd take a couple of days off, I'd go down to the pool, get a swim in, and then I'd come back and sometimes I'd be on a Zoom call till 8 or 9 o'clock. And so, I think what's really important is that we don't have to be perfect every day. My mom, who worked in corporate America for over 30 years, every day she'd pick me and my siblings up from school. She'd come home and she would make gorgeous, perfect meal, sometimes even before she would get undressed. And back then she wore pantyhose and high heels and skirts and the whole 9 yards, which I can't even think about doing today. But she also had someone to help her clean the house or do some of the simple things. And so I considered my mom a warrior. We are truly warriors and a superwoman. And that, but even as such, she couldn't do it all. And that was okay. And so I think when we think about work-life balance, sometimes the work is going to be perfectly balanced and home or life may not be. And other days it may be the opposite. And we have to be okay with that.
Yeah, that's so encouraging to hear and something that I feel like I really needed to hear as somebody who wants to try to do all of the things at once and make sure everything is perfect. But you can't be perfect in every aspect of all of the things that you have going on every day. And some days may be better than others, but giving yourself grace in that is super important. Thank you for sharing those stories too. I know my mom worked as an entrepreneur when I was younger, and there were days where I would have to go into production with her and got to sit in the warehouse office and just hang out and play with my toys. It definitely looks different for everyone too. So glad that you've been able to find a system and a rhythm that works for you and with your schedule and with your family, because that's what's really important.
Exactly.
Kind of shifting gears a little bit to talk more about your work as an entrepreneur and what that has meant to you. I know a few months ago in an interview that you did with Worth magazine, you said you left construction because you wanted to make an impact on the world. And I know a lot of our students at UT really take our motto of what starts here changes the world really seriously. What does it mean to you to make an impact, and what does that look like and how you've gone about your entrepreneurial journey?
I think making an impact for me means leaving a legacy that people will remember in a positive way and being able to help and serve others in a positive way that's meaningful. When I was in construction, I remember that I wanted to do something particularly for women and women entrepreneurs that would be in a way that was helping them. One of the things that we had was a Warrior Small Business Academy that we worked with subcontractors in all the different trades and show them how to be successful in whatever they were doing. And I also remember a ribbon cutting ceremony that I went to for a university project that we had just completed. And I was a joint venture partner as a general contractor on the project. The master of ceremonies was talking about the building, just how the impact that this building was going to have for the students and all the different activities they were going to be able to do within this building. It was really rewarding. But during the process, who he talked about was the architect that designed the building, which was awesome. And then I sat there for a moment. I thought, in construction, and when you think about some of the most beautiful, famous buildings around the world, who is it that people really remember? It's the architect. Oftentimes, they don't remember who built it. They don't remember who the general contractor was. And so I wanted to pivot and do something more that was going to really leave a legacy where I could have an impact on people and helping people shine for whatever their skills and successes would be. Pivoted, and some people would say I was a little bit crazy because I was almost 50 when I did so. But the second half of my life, I really wanted to do something that was going to leave more of a lasting legacy and impact in everything that I did and how I showed up.
That's so encouraging and so amazing. Leaving a legacy that leaves a positive impact on the world, I think, is so good and just such a great goal that a lot of people have and that you've been able to accomplish through your work with Casper, all of the different organizations that you've been able to be a part of and the boards that you've got to sit in and serve and the mentorship programs that you've been a part of and how you've been able to give back and just support people. I'm so glad that you've been able to do that, and I am excited to see how that legacy continues to grow even in the future, because I feel like you've gotten a really solid foundation so far with what you've been able to do in the past few years. Another question that a lot of our students had is related to imposter syndrome. And I know I have felt it a lot in college and in my internship, just feeling like I have to overperform or that I don't belong in the situation, or that I'm not deserving of that situation. And I know particularly for a lot of female entrepreneurs at the beginning and throughout their careers, they feel a real sense of imposter syndrome and they don't really know how to cope with it. If you've ever experienced imposter syndrome, how did you overcome that?
Well, Samantha, I think if there's anyone out there that has never experienced the imposter syndrome, then they may want to have their pulse checked.
They might be doing something wrong.
I think that all of us at various points in our life experience what you call the imposter syndrome. I remember as a mom, sometimes I would feel that I wasn't doing enough, would see other moms that were doing other things. And I thought, okay, should I be doing this better? Should I be showing up differently? My mom, the way she raised me and my sibling, both of my parents were just amazing. And I used to be hard on myself thinking, okay, then my mom would be able to do this. Why can't I do this? In the corporate world, there were some times where I would doubt myself if, we had a bid going out and, sometimes I felt like I knew things, or I knew things better than our lead estimator. But I would doubt myself. Like, okay, should I really tell them that this is how we should bid this project, or should we have this profit margin on it? And then sometimes think about being a CEO, having been a CEO of multiple companies, I'd sometimes wonder, am I leading my team in the right direction? And so how do you overcome all that? I think one of the ways is to lean into it and to embrace it. Because if you lean into it, the more you lean into it, then the less power that you give it. By leaning into it, it also makes me push harder and work harder to become a better version of myself. And I think that if we didn't have imposter syndrome sometimes, then we would consider ourselves to be perfect and we wouldn't have any room for growth and development. And who doesn't have room to be able to grow and to develop? I also remind myself every day that I am a warrior. And as my parents used to tell me, I'm a warrior for a reason. And as a warrior, that means that I'm just naturally strong in my abilities to think through things and make sure that things come out for the best.
That's amazing. You are a warrior in more ways than one. Like you said, it's really a good thing to note that like everybody experiences imposter syndrome at one point or another. And sometimes that means that you have to really lean into it. And I love that you said that, just because I think it can be really uncomfortable to not feel good at something and to not know what you're doing, but really being able to embrace that and see it as a learning opportunity and say, okay, like I'm going to grow here and I'm going to choose to stay and to fight for this because I want to get better at this, or I want to believe in what I'm doing in this situation, rather than just giving up and really leaning into that imposter syndrome, finding that community to support you and rally around you and to say, yeah, sometimes you're going to fall, but we're also here to help pick you up and to encourage you and to help rise up with you in that. Kind of comforting to know that it doesn't go away after you graduate, and that it's kind of a lifelong journey that I'll continue to keep working on.
It is.
Well, something else that a couple of our aspiring entrepreneurs had questions about is what advice you would have for future entrepreneurs or people who have just started new ventures to help them grow and succeed with their businesses.
So there's probably a few things we could probably be on here all day talking about advice, things that I would share, and just a few things that came to mind. One is to make mistakes, make them early and make them often, because by making mistakes, that's one of the ways that we learn. Now, what you don't want to do is make the same mistake over and over. Somewhere that means you may not be learning. And I would say also, don't be afraid to partner with, to hire, to collaborate people that are smarter than you, particularly in areas that may not be your absolute strength. So surround yourself and collaborate with people that are as smart or smarter than you. Another item I would share is to never burn bridges. My mom, both my parents actually used to teach me that, you never want to burn bridges when you leave something. And I think as I've gotten older, that is so true, because you never know when you may need that person or those people, because 10 years from now, they may have a contact or a relationship with somebody that you're trying to do business with. And if you really burn that bridge, then the opportunity of them making that connection for you 10 years from now, that's probably not going to happen. The other thing I would say is never, ever stop learning, and never give up. There are people that are going to tell you that your dream or the goals or the visions that you have for your company or your business can't be achieved. I remember in my construction company, I had hired a turnaround consultant. We were at a point in the company where we were literally robbing Peter to pay Paul. And sometimes I wouldn't know we were going to make payroll from one week to the other. And there was a couple of payroll cycles where I didn't get paid so that everyone else could get paid. So I brought in a consultant, and he met with me, and he met with my senior management team, and he met with some of the other project managers and lead estimators on the team. And in about a week, he came into my office and he said, I've got a plan for you. And you can imagine I'm super excited because he's been spending so much time in our offices just talking to everyone on the team. And so I said, well, come on in, let's talk about it. So he said, well, I think the best option that you have at this point, considering everything that I've looked at, considering all the people that I've talked to, you should just file bankruptcy, shut the business down, cut your losses early, file bankruptcy, and just start over. And I looked at him with this deer in headlights look like, did you just say that to me? And I had a few other choice words to him that I won't share here. But I immediately escorted him out of my business and out of the building. Within 6 months after that, got funding from an organization, Texas Women's Venture Fund, to be able to build one of our first largest projects that we did at Fort Hood. And I remember that time so well because if I had done what he recommended, then I never would have had that experience, and I never would have continued to grow the business to the next level. And what I realized that what he didn't know, even by talking to me and some of the other people, he didn't understand the heartbeat of the organization and everything that we had worked so hard to build the company up until that point. And we weren't going to let it fall apart. We were going to make sure that no matter what it took, it was going to survive and it was going to thrive. And it did. And so I would end that by saying that, oftentimes you're going to have naysayers that are going to come into your life, but always remember what you can do, which is why, the health and wellness piece of that is so important. Just, making sure that you're feeding yourself all the right things so that when those negative things do come into your life, you know how to handle it.
Yeah, that's truly amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, because I know thinking about all of the naysayers in retrospect and in hindsight, you're like, yeah, he had no idea what was happening, but I couldn't imagine walking through that and having somebody tell you, this is my dream and this is something that I need help with, and then say, well, maybe you should just throw in the towel now. But also knowing yourself and being true to yourself and that intention behind why you're doing what you're doing and believing in that and fighting for it. And it sounded like you and your team were warriors in the best sense of the term, and really were able to double down and say, yes, we want to fight for what we believe in because we know we can do this, even if it doesn't seem like we can. And even if we're going to have to learn as we go, be a little scrappy, fail fast and fail often, like you mentioned before. My last question is, as a self-identifying woman and for other self-identifying women and female allies, what are some of the ways that we as the UT community and the Kendra Scott Well Institute community can support other self-identifying female entrepreneurs to build a collaborative environment? Because I know there's a lot of stereotypes about cattiness and the sense of competition that exists within entrepreneurship, which is definitely true to an extent, but how can we work to build each other up rather than seeing it as a win-lose situation in entrepreneurial spaces?
I'll just tell you the things that I do that's important for me.
Yeah.
Is always give words of encouragement to other female entrepreneurs, or just to women in period. Always give them congratulations on their successes and their achievements. When other women are doing well, and when we give words of encouragement to them, what they are receiving is just positive affirmation. And when we're receiving positive affirmation, that means we all are succeeding. There's noise that happens from our workplace. There's noise sometimes that can happen from home. And sometimes the biggest, loudest noise comes from in our own head, and things that we tell ourselves that, okay, we can't do that, or we're not going to be successful. And so I think it's important for, as women, that we share positive words of affirmation to one another and to continue to lift each other up. You've got now 2 African-American women that are CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. How amazing is that? You've got the first female vice president. As women, we're living in a time that has never happened before. And I think it's even more important that we find ways to encourage each other. Other things to do is to get active in various organizations, whether it's the Kendra Scott Leadership Institute, whether it's organizations such as NAWBO, National Association of Women's Business Owners, and then also think about women organizations that are in your specific field. So when I was in construction, I was in an organization called NAWIC. And so outside of that, I think build a personal board of advisors of women that will hold you accountable and be very supportive of you and your entrepreneurial journey. Just continue to support each other as women and lift each other up.
That's so encouraging and really good, because I think it, like you were saying, we're living through history, and it's a time where we can see change happening, and to be a part of that really requires leaning in and encouraging each other and fostering that community of, hey, we want to support and we want to encourage and empower each other, rather than saying, oh, for her to win, I have to lose, or for me to win, she has to lose. But saying, no, we can all win, and we are all winning, and the way that we win might be different, but that doesn't mean that it can't happen and that it won't happen. Well,
as I think as women, if we have that mindset, you have to lose in order for me to win, ultimately that means none of us are really winning. Peel back the layers of that onion, none of us are really winning if we're not all winning. And you've heard the saying, the more you give, the more you receive. So the more that you give nothing but positive energy and those words of affirmation to other women, then there's so much more that you're going to receive in return.
Gail, I have loved getting to experience your positive energy today. It's really been just a joy to get to talk with you. Do you have any comments or last thoughts that you'd like to share with the students and the people who are listening to our call today?
There's one thing that I wanted to share. I know the theme for this conference is Choose to Challenge.
It
and
is.
I'd like to challenge all of the participants today to write a letter to yourself today. Write down all of the goals and dreams and aspirations that you have for yourself. But date it for today, but put 2022 on it. And then a year from now, pull it out and see how well you did. And maybe during the process, journal. I think journaling is a very important thing, and something that as women we tend not to do because we don't find the time. But journal over the next year as well, and then pull out that letter in March of 2022 and see how well you did. So that's my challenge for everyone today.
I am really excited about this challenge and definitely encourage everybody listening to participate and think about their own goals. Thanks so much for sharing that, Gail. I'm excited to see what people come up with and how they choose to challenge themselves through that this year.
Thank you, Samantha. I really enjoyed talking to you today and getting to know you. And I look forward to everything that you're going to be doing in your future as you finish your tenure at UT.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, that's all I have for our conversation today. So I know we still have a lot of other fun things planned continuing our International Women's Day celebrations. Thank you again, Gail. And I hope that everybody stays safe and stays tuned for what else we have planned for today.